Pumped about this one here with Amit Elor, one of the toughest hammers I know. Amit, how you doing?
I'm doing good, making the most out of the situation.
Yeah, how's your family dealing with it? You guys staying pretty like isolated and in
Um,
or what?
yeah, we're all together. We're trying not to leave the house too often, only when we really need to for shopping, essentials. And we're having fun, kind of just like hanging out together, because we're usually all like in different places at different times, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, same thing
Yeah,
here. We're being pretty careful, miss kind of like normal life and going to an office and all that. But it's really great to be home with my wife and my son and get all that time. So I feel you
yeah,
on the family stuff.
yeah. I know a lot of people are saying that, like, it's a horrible time right now, but at least get something good out of it.
Yeah,
Bonding. Yeah.
yeah. So I've been keeping up with you on Facebook a little bit. It looks like you're finding ways to train.
Yeah,
Is it challenge? How do you still work? You still work with your strength coach at some level, right? Like, or he's feeding you workouts and stuff to do.
yeah. So like a few weeks ago, like kind of when this all started, I told him kind of what I have around the house. So I have like two kettlebells, a set of dumbbells, and some bands.
Hmm.
And so what he did is he like wrote down like a shelter-in-place workout plan. And I'm kind of just like talking back and forth with him, like telling him how it's going and stuff, asking him questions about like what these exercises are, because I always work with him in person, and so it's kind of challenging like figuring out like the names of these exercises, like what they mean.
Uh-huh.
Like one of them was like a reverse crunch, and I was like, what is that? Just like arch my back or something, because that's the opposite of a crunch, right?
Uh-huh.
But it's just like, yeah, it's different, so it's pretty cool.
Awesome. Well, hats off to your strength coach because whatever he's doing, it looks like it works. You look like you're getting really strong, and that part of your wrestling that's going to be a good piece of it. Do you feel as strong as I look like you feel?
I mean, some people tell me like you're stronger, and I'm like, no way, no. And then like other times, I'm like, you know what, I have to work more on my technique. Strength isn't everything. So yeah, it just depends if I'm wearing like sleeveless or not. Cause like I don't know, I don't like wearing sleeveless very often. Cause like sometimes like I feel like I'm too big. I don't know.
No. Embrace it. If I had gun show, I would never wear sleeves. So yeah, take
Yeah.
advantage of it. But I always remember, for people, I met Amit. You're about 10 years old. I was coaching in California. You came in. You're this smiley, nice person that just really wanted to work hard and wanted to train extra. I remember the first time that we were just like rolling around, and you were hip tossing me, and you were hitting arm throws on me, and it blew my mind. It blew my mind, and I think you're strong. Your balance is there. You had some good technique, but it's no surprise. Um, and then I also remember, um, anytime we would go live, I'd put you in a group, and something would always happen to the person that you're wrestling, even before wrestling. Like, I think my shoulder hurts, coach. Or like,
That
no,
was like
you're gonna
challenging.
wrestle a meet.
Yeah,
Um,
when I was younger, that was challenging. Like my partners would always find like a reason not to want to wrestle me.
yeah,
But like not everyone, but yeah. You were awesome though. I loved wrestling you. Like when I was little, I really liked wrestling my coaches because like I felt like they could feel my technique and they could kind of like understand like what I need to work on and stuff. And it's just fun because they're bigger than me and it's like it's cool.
well,
I don't know.
I appreciate that. It was a lot of fun for me, and just like I said, it really blew my mind. So, how about now though? Now that you're in these like really great training environments and you have great workout partners, is that like now that you get that day in and day out when you can train? How nice is that?
I mean, I still can't believe some of the opportunities I've gotten. Like some of the people I got to train with, it's just crazy. And it's like when I first started to wrestle, like some of these people, like Chamizo, for an example, I was so nervous. I was like, this guy is so good. Uh, but like really, they're just like any other wrestler on the mat. They like to have fun. They play wrestle. They aren't like, you know, they're just like any of us.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. He's one of the two people I want to, or several people I want to ask you about, Frank Chamizo, because you know in our country sometimes he's made out to be like a villain, just because you know
Yeah.
because he has wins over Jordan Burroughs and has placed higher in the worlds and stuff. But what kind of a person is he like? You know, once you get to know him and spend some time with him.
Oh my gosh, he's so nice. He's like full of energy. Like when he, like we'll all be tired in like the beginning of the practice, and then he's gonna walk into the room like with his accent, and he'll go like, "What's up, everybody?" And he'll just like start dancing to the music and stuff, and like he'll be training with somebody else, and then he'll see me wrestling on the side, and he'll be like, "Come on, Amit, come on, keep going," and it's just like really funny. So yeah, he's just like, he's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know, like Cuban mentality kind of.
Yeah, he can certainly dance. I like watching him when he puts stuff on Instagram. Um, yeah. What would you say makes him, in your eyes, what makes him like special as a wrestler? What makes him, you know, able to be one of the best in the world?
I think he's not like afraid of anybody. Like when he goes out on the mat, I think he's just not gonna stop wrestling, and everything to him is like like a serious challenge. Like even when he wrestles me in practice, he like pretends that he's the announcer, and he'll like say, I scored 1 point. Oh, Elor's down, like this and that. Like everything to him is kind of like a big show. You know, like and I think he just loves wrestling very much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, man, people like him, you know, really, whether you know, whether people love him or hate him, you know, he gives us stories, and
Yeah.
obviously his matches are really fun to watch. Some of his defense and stuff is just unbelievable. But he's a character. In my opinion, he's a character, and we need more people like that.
Yeah.
The other one, you know, I know you spent some time with. So one of my favorite wrestlers of all time is Yelena Pirozhkova, and so how that kind of happened, I believe it was the 2008 U.S. Open, the first U.S. Open I did when I was covering wrestling. I got to know her and talk to her for the first time. I believe she got fifth at that Open, and then just every time I saw her wrestling just got better and better, and then she started making world teams and winning world medals and Olympic teams. Actually got to one of their last workouts before the Olympics in 2012. They were training in France before they headed over to London and go over, and so watched them train, and then we went grocery shopping with them. And anyways, I just think she's great. What's she like in the wrestling room?
She's really, really sweet. And I used to wrestle with her a lot, and she would help me like with my technique and kind of like explain to me, like right now she's in chiropractor school.
Oh, cool.
And she would explain to me kind of like the physics behind wrestling and how I need to take care of my body, and she'll tell me these stories from like when she was younger, like when she was my age, and kind of give me tips on my wrestling. And it's pretty cool because we're both like around the same weight class. So she's telling me like her stories about when she was my age and like the types of girls around my weight internationally, and just like different stories about like tough matches she's had. She's just very inspirational, motivating in person.
Cool. And how about is your main coach, is it Valentin?
Yes, Valentin Kalika.
Awesome. What and tell me a little bit about him when you're training. What's he like as a coach?
He can be pretty tough. Like he's a perfectionist. He'll like correct me on anything, and even like the slightest mistake, like the smallest detail, he needs to make sure the technique is perfect. And that's kind of what I like about him. And so it's kind of weird, like whenever he tells me I'm doing something right, it's almost hard for me to believe it because there's always just like a little technique I'm doing. And yeah, he helps me in all elements, like from on the mat to off the mat to getting me like trips to go on and finding partners. He's really just like an all-around personal coach, and it's amazing.
Yeah, it has to, I would imagine it gives you confidence. I mean, I think like, hey, the biggest story, I mean, something to overcome with, Helen beating Yoshida. She was training with Valentin at that time, right? And yeah, so maybe being a perfectionist isn't a bad thing. Obviously not. And then now you go overseas. Besides, I want to talk about some of your overseas trips. You also go with Valentin. You go. Is it Ukraine that you guys go to?
We went to Georgia
twice.
Okay. Yeah, Georgia. And we got to train with the Georgian national team. Like one time was at his camp, and then the other time was before, I think it was the 2018 World Championships. Like we literally went to their training camp before they left to Worlds. So that was just crazy.
That's cool. Those experiences, it's amazing what you've been able to do, but by you're 16 years old and the places you've been able to go. How important is that piece to you? Outside, obviously, you're going there to wrestle, to train, to compete, but what's the other part like, where you're just getting exposed to so much culture?
Yeah, I think when I got into wrestling, I didn't think it would allow me to travel to all of these different places and meet all these amazing people. So I just think it's insane how all I want to do is wrestle, and in the process I get to like visit, Georgia. I went to Bulgaria for Worlds. I went to
Japan, right?
Yeah, Japan. So I love that element of the sport, and kind of, the international wrestling, getting to wrestle all of these different people from different backgrounds and countries who were trained differently, and I just think that's so much fun.
Have you been able to identify, or is it like a different feel? You leave in the United States in the way that it feels to wrestle with someone?
Are you asking if it's like different to wrestle international people?
Yeah, like obviously everybody's tough, but if you had no idea and you wrestled somebody that was from Georgia, do you think you'd be able to tell that this wasn't like an American girl you're wrestling?
I think so, but I don't know if I'm having like hindsight bias or something. But like I think I'd be able to tell, because they have this kind of like slick style, like where you start wrestling them and their whole body is like loose, and it kind of confuses you because it feels like they aren't really wrestling you, but then suddenly they're gonna like have like an explosion and like a really strong attack. So it's like really, like if you think about it, it's like a genius way of wrestling, because first off you save energy by not like starting out tough, and then second, your opponent doesn't expect it when you like suddenly start being really rough. So I like the way they wrestle. Yeah. Cool. I wish I could wrestle that way, but no.
Yeah, I'd say keep doing what you're doing, but what do I know? Japan, it's a place I've never been. I only hear, I hear that they just like really value wrestling. Could you tell when you were there?
Yes. Yeah. All the girls are so disciplined. Like before practice, they line up like in like a perfect order, like one after another, and they look up to their coaches and they're bowing, and then when they're drilling, they're constantly like yelling and screaming. Like when you walk into a room with them, there's so much energy and like discipline. It's just crazy. It's like life to them, wrestling.
Yeah, I remember the first Worlds I ever went to, it was in 2009, it was in Denmark, and, obviously watching the wrestling is the best part, but, I mean, it's close. What I love to do is I always find ways to get access to the warm-up area, and there's all these different countries. Everyone's doing something different, but I remember that it was so different to see the Japanese team's warm-ups and what they did to prepare for a day of wrestling or a practice, and that was really. Do you like go through? When you're there, are you going through workouts like they do and led by Japanese coaches ever?
Yeah. So when I went to Japan, we first competed in a tournament, and then we had like a 2-day camp, and that camp was insane. We woke up like early in the morning and did like strength and conditioning, like 6 a.m. And then we had a morning practice afterwards, like at 10 a.m. And that was, on the mat wrestling for 2 hours. And when the Americans were done, we were really tired. We went to take our shoes off, and then we were watching, and the Japanese girls were still training. Like, they had, like, a second practice after our practice. It was just crazy. And then another practice at 6 p.m., and those were, like, live matches. We did, like, 10 rounds of, like, 3-minute goes. It was tough. And I think they train like that, like, almost every day. So it makes sense that they're probably, like, the best team in the world.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask. Do you think, obviously that's part of what makes them the best, so they train hard. Is there anything else that you notice that you could put your finger on and think, like, okay, this is why that's the country we got to take down?
I noticed they work a lot on their stance, like just having like a really disciplined stance, constantly just like working on foot drills and foot speed. So I think that's something that other countries haven't been focusing on as much. So I think like their defense and discipline is so good. So like when someone attacks them, like they stand no chance against them.
So let me ask you this: Are you gonna lead this charge to put USA on top, or what?
I hope so. Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely not going to try to be like the Japanese. It's just not my style. I'm more like upper body. Mm-hmm. But I think instead of trying to be like them, we can find our own way to reach the top. Yeah.
I like that attitude. Let's talk.
Yeah. When we were in Japan, we were kind of like, oh, we have to start doing all these drills they're doing. They're the best. But I don't think that's the right way. I don't think we should try to copy them. We should find what works for us. Yeah.
Absolutely. Talk about Cadet Worlds. Probably your only loss probably in a long, long time, right? You lost in the semifinals.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, what did it feel like to go compete at a world tournament?
Surprisingly, it was just like any other tournament. And in fact, like, like Reno Worlds, it felt like smaller than that. And I was like, what? And Valentin was telling me for months, like, he was telling me, you have to think of it just like any other tournament. It's Cadet Worlds. It might even be smaller than some of the tournaments you've competed in, like Fargo. Fargo is, like, way bigger. And I was like, no, I'm seeing all these pictures of these other wrestlers, who have won and Cadet and Junior Worlds, and it just looks so crazy. And so I was, like, pretty nervous going into it. But then, like, like the quarterfinals, I just was like, you know what, this is normal. It's fine. I can do this. But then I made it to the semifinals, and I think I was just like, I didn't have enough experience at that point. I needed to be more focused during my match, think about the points. I needed to attack more. I don't think I was comfortable attacking, like just kind of like frozen, just trying to keep wrestling. Mm-hmm. So I think it was a good experience, and next time I go to the World Championships, if I qualify, that's like something I'm going to think about. Like, I'm going to think that for the next whole year, I'm going to be thinking about this match. So I better try my best,
Yeah, but, I mean, I believe the girl that beat you, she was from Japan, right? Was she from Japan?
Yeah.
And a little bit older and a 3-time Cadet World Champ, something like that?
She became a 3-time, that year.
So, yeah, you were wrestling. And I don't remember exactly. I remember watching it and thinking, like, oh, I mean, you were right there. You were right there in the match and had some opportunities to win, but it's probably like you need to find those wrestlers, because I've seen you hardly ever wrestle more than a minute at a time.
Yeah.
So I guess you kind of told me what you learned from that match. What did you say after the match? Like, were you able to bounce back and be positive, or was, seeing that's not a normal situation for you, was it really difficult?
So it was difficult, but I think I was just kind of, after the match, I wasn't really, like, feeling anything. I was just kind of like, you know what, I tried my hardest, and somehow the time passed, and the match was over, and I didn't have enough time, And I was like, you know what, next time I need to try harder. I need to find those attacks. The second the whistle blows in the beginning of the match, I need to look for it. But I told myself, you know what, you're a first-year cadet, and even if you weren't a first-year cadet, it is what it is. It's already happened. And now you have one more match, and the way you can make up for this loss is by trying your best on this one and getting that bronze medal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's kind of just like what I told myself. I was just, adapting to the situation. Yeah.
That's awesome. And you'll be back, and next time you wrestle that girl, you're gonna whip her.
Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah,
I just know it.
Another feeling I had, I was like, you know what? It wasn't so bad. I should keep wrestling her. I was like, just one more match. I wish this was like best 2 out of 3. I was like, ah.
Yeah. Well,
I was also hoping that there would be like a true 2, so I could wrestle that Chinese girl who got second, because she looked pretty cool too. So I was like, this sucks. But, that's why I really want to go to Cadet Worlds again. But sadly, it's not going to happen. This, it might happen, but it's going to be postponed for sure. So. Yeah,
it's rough. I know. I think about all the athletes that are, and it's more than just in sports. People that are working so hard for something, and then out of their control, it's just pulled away from them, and it's brutal. But I guess we're all learning, One of the last events I went to before all this mess was CIF, California State Championships. I saw you out there. It was great. But you didn't compete in high school this year. Tell me why was that decision made?
So I was actually home during the state championships, but Valentin told me that that because of the opportunities that are given to me with training camps and stuff, I should be focused on the end goal, which is, international tournaments and world championships. And he told me that because of my performance last year, it wouldn't be nice to compete again. And I he's my coach and he does everything for me. So, I agree with him. And I mean, he's given me so much when it comes to traveling and stuff. I couldn't afford, I couldn't afford for my mom and I to go travel to these places without him and his support. So, I have to trust what he tells me.
Yeah. Was it a little bit tough to be watching?
I tried not to watch because I didn't want to watch because, it's hard for me. He even offered me to come to the tournament with him, because he was part of the parade. But I didn't want to for the same reason. I wasn't competing. I should be watching like international matches. Watch like the senior level women at 68, 72, 65 kilos, kind of. Yeah, but I think because I went, it wouldn't have been like, I definitely wouldn't have done this if I didn't compete last year, but because of last year's CIF tournament, I just felt like, it's okay. What I should be focused on is nationals and worlds.
Yeah.
But now looking at it, I'm not going to get to compete in nationals or worlds for a while, so I was like, I should have gone to CIF state, but, it is what it is.
Yeah, it seems like it's a little bit tough on you, which makes sense. And I'm sure, I only talked to him once, but it's Bob Wilhelm, right?
Yes.
Your coach. And I just talked to him after your state finals last year. Seems like a really great coach, and and really proud of you. Do you keep in touch with him or that team very much?
Yeah, we have, we have like an Instagram group chat. We send wrestling memes to each other. It's pretty fun. And yeah, I have Coach Bob's number and stuff, and we haven't talked since CIF state and stuff. But I think he's doing well. It actually sucks. None of the girls from my team, College Park High School, none of us got to compete in sectionals NCS. Because I think there was now it was online registration, And so our coaches weren't used to that. They're used to like the paper registration. So I actually, if I wanted to compete in state, I couldn't have either way.
Oh,
so
man.
it was,
oh no.
Yeah. So it was a decision my Valentin and I made, but at the same time, none of the other girls on my team got to compete either. So it kind of sucks for them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Tell me about beach wrestling. You went to Ukraine, right?
Yeah.
And
it was,
you just gave beach wrestling a try. What was that like?
It was actually pretty hard and weird because I didn't know about the rules until like a week before, and it was pretty tough. And I don't know if you know, but the rules are you can't touch like anything but your feet onto the sand, or else it's a point for the other person.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's pretty tough when you're used to like freestyle wrestling on the mat, because every time you shoot, normally you'd touch your knee on the mat, or you'd put your hand on the mat,
mm-hmm.
and that's something you can't do. And also the sand is kind of like it's hard to balance on the sand, so it's just a lot of stuff I wasn't used to. But what I loved about it is when I got like all sandy and sweaty between matches, I got to hop in the water and just wash it off.
Oh, that's so cool.
Something you never can do in like a normal wrestling tournament.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
That sounds fun.
And they played like loud music, and there was a mascot dancing, and there was like a big crowd around the ring. So there's just something cool because like with beach wrestling, it attracts like so many other people who aren't part of the wrestling community to watch it. So that's something special about it.
Yeah, that's cool. So one thing that I thought, when I got to know you, and even when I wasn't out in California, I wasn't around you each week. I was lucky enough to see you around at different events, whether you were wrestling or Ori was wrestling. But your family is amazing. Is just is kind of what I felt. Now I knew the most your mom, and then Ronnie, your sister, and then I watched Ori wrestle a lot, but it just seems like you guys are close knit. You guys have each other's backs.
Yeah.
Tell me about that support system.
So I started wrestling when I was 4 because Ori was wrestling, and it kind of like all started from Ori. He wrestled, I think he started wrestling in his sophomore year of high school, and he kind of brought my sister Ronnie into wrestling, and then she brought like my 2 other brothers also into wrestling for a little bit, and then I started wrestling. So at one point, there's 6 of us total, so at one point like all 5 of us were wrestling, so it was pretty crazy. We were just like a wrestling family, and it all started from Ori. And slowly over time, like some of us became more interested than others. Ronnie won Fargo, Ori won Fargo like the same year, so it was just pretty awesome when I was little. And I had these like 2 older siblings that were like my idols to me. So yeah, and now it's like they're done wrestling. I'm sort of done. And now they're helping me out, so it's pretty cool to have them around me.
Yeah. When you go compete, is there you typically have some family members in there, even when you go overseas? I know that's tough, probably, to take a whole family to Bulgaria or something like that.
Yeah, for me, it's mostly my mom. Like, she's just amazing. She goes to almost all my tournaments with me, and helps me. She braids my hair because I can't do that. Like really good braiding. Yeah, so she's probably the one who goes everywhere with me. But obviously my sister supports me and helps me, and so does Ori, Ronnie and Ori, and pretty much like everyone in my family. I'm very lucky to have them be supportive of my wrestling.
Yeah, I remember one time talking with your mother. I thought it was really cool. This is when you were starting to make a name for yourself. I know, like, Coach Steiner's reaching out, and they're wanting start training other places, and it was important for your mom that these were decisions that you would make, and that you still have like a life as a kid. And I just think, man, I feel like most people, if their kids started excelling like you, then they're just like, all right, now it's wrestling, and I remember Mom saying, "Well, Amit loves to cook, and she does jujitsu and these other things." So I don't know if it's the right thing to just be 100% specialized on wrestling, and just that's always stuck in my head.
Yeah, I think it's smart for people to like have, you know, like other interests in life, because one day, you know, I'm gonna be older and hopefully I'll still be wrestling until I'm like, I don't know, like 27. I don't know, but I want there to be other things to do when I'm done with wrestling. You know, I'm interested in like math and English, and there's just like I have other interests, you know, cooking, spending time with my dog, and I just think it's good to have things you can do when you're done wrestling, because I know like I don't want to stop wrestling, like feel like my life is over. I just want to, you know, go next thing. Like for an example, I think jiu-jitsu is something I'll do definitely until like I'm really old. So.
That's cool. I think that's a healthy way to look at things. So what would you say is your like premier dish that you prepare?
Probably one thing I make a lot is pizza. I make like my own pizza dough, and then I like use different toppings. Like right now, Ronnie just ordered like these morel mushrooms from Amazon, and so like I use like a blender and I grind them up, and I like put some olive oil and I cover them on my pizza, and it tastes like this like amazing gourmet pizza, and I love that. But then like I also like cooking healthy things, so I make like all sorts of things from like just general food, like I made like a whole leg of lamb in the oven, like chicken breast, and these like turkey patties that have like bell pepper and spinach and onion and sweet potato and zucchini, and I just like to put like all of these different vegetables together and try to like get the most like color out of a meal. Kind of, I kind of like the combination of cooking for being an athlete and then cooking for just like liking to cook. So
are you like focused in on like you know, like your strength training, and obviously you're dialed into your wrestling? Are you even at the level where my meal, like I'm planning my meals out to support my nutrition? And
so what I'm trying to do, I haven't started doing that yet, but what I like to do is just kind of depending on what I'm craving. I think like I wake up in the morning and I'm like, oh, I'm craving like something sweet, so then I make myself like protein powder mug cake or something, or I'll cook oats and I'll like put like cocoa powder and chia seeds and flax seeds and protein powder, and it tastes like this amazing pudding. So like what I've been discovering is that like what I'm craving, I need to find something healthy that tastes similar. And just like whenever I'm hungry, just eat something healthy instead of something bad. And yeah, so I'm really enjoying experimenting with food, especially during this time, because I have lots of time and I'm home all day. So
yeah, I've been doing the same. It's something to do.
I bet everyone's doing that.
Yeah. So when you look at, go back to wrestling, when you look at like the girls around your age, and you know the people that you're going to compete against and compete with, you know, for 2 or 3, you know, Olympic cycles.
Yeah.
How do you feel like the team will be?
I feel like at my age group right now, there's a lot of talent. Like in the Worlds, we haven't done as good as we did last year for I think like 10 years or something. We placed 3rd in the world, and I think we got like a silver medalist, 2 silver medalists, and 3 bronze medalists, including me. So I think we're a really good, strong group of athletes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you spend much time with Terry Steiner?
Yeah, like whenever I go to training camps, he helps me out like one-on-one. Yeah, and I remember when I was 12, I think I was 12. I think that's one of like the first times I've truly met Terry, and that was in I think it was a World Team Camp in Colorado. I think I was able to go there because of Valentin.
Mm-hmm.
He was able to find that opportunity for me. And then that's kind of like when I met like Clarissa and Terry, and they kind of helped me out and told me, you know what, whenever you want to come, you can come. And that's when I kind of started getting more serious, like more into wrestling around that age.
I love Clarissa Chun. She's another one of my favorites. I was lucky enough to see her win, earn her Olympic bronze medal, and that was so cool. I just always, you don't see too many people that smile as much as her, that that competed as hard as her. She's just superstar, I think.
She's an amazing wrestler and an amazing coach. Like, she's so motivating and sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, really like Clarissa.
Who are your favorite wrestlers, or the ones that you looked up to growing up or now?
I think it's kind of tough for me. I definitely look up to Tamira Mensah. What's her new last name?
Mensah Stock. Yeah, she's so awesome.
Yeah, she's awesome. Like, she's, again, kind of like, I don't want to compare her to Chamizo, but she's just like bringing like so much energy into the room, and she's so sweet and fun to wrestle with too.
Mm-hmm.
So I like Tamira a lot. And then I think like on the world level, I think, do you know who Natalia Vorobieva is?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she's so cool. She's so cool. Like, last Olympics, she got a silver medal. The one before, she got the gold. We had a baby, and then she won the World Championships this past year. So,
isn't there?
And then
sorry, go ahead.
And I got to wrestle with her in a training camp in Italy. So, she's really cool. Yeah.
I remember. I think I just saw the trailer. Isn't there like a cool documentary about her like comeback after having a baby and being a mom for a while, and the piece I remember is just like, man, those first days back on the mat were so hard. It makes you think how tough the sport is, where she's just a world beater, and then a little time away and it just feels completely different.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen it. I'm gonna look for it.
I'll try to find it. I can't remember exact. Maybe I just scrolled past it, like, and saw it on like Instagram or something. But I'll look for it too. I'll send it to you.
Okay. Cool.
All right. So what would your advice be for a young wrestler that has aspirations of greatness? What would you tell them?
I would tell them not to stop wrestling, and if they love the sport, they keep pushing themselves and working hard, and they set a goal for themselves, they can achieve it. And that if they have any challenges, like partners, finding places to train, driving to competitions, or just like getting food to eat, that wrestling is a sport that shapes you like on and off the mat. And if they love it, they should keep doing it, no matter what challenges they find on the way.
What do you? I cut you off. I said.
Oh no.
Okay. No. What's it feel like? The women's movement in wrestling. It's in more states. Kansas next door to me just added 2 years ago. You're seeing more and more states add it, but you're in there competing at a lot of levels. What's it feel like for you in terms of just like the forward motion? It's
exciting. It's just crazy. I remember when I was 4 years old, when I went to wrestling tournaments, I was pretty much the only girl, and it was either me or my sister. Mm-hmm. And now you go, and sometimes there's more girls than boys. And I just think this movement is really awesome. And I know that it's just going to keep growing. And I think girls wrestling is something that's really good. It's really good.
Awesome. Well, dang, Amit, you're so awesome. I appreciate you a lot. Love watching you wrestle. I'm lucky enough to see you kind of grow up into, this future star, now and future star. So congratulations on everything, and tell your family hello. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
I mean, just like during this time with the coronavirus, just keep training. I know it feels like everything stopped, but at one point things are going to go back to normal. So just keep your dreams alive.
Awesome. I appreciate that. All right. Well, I hear my boy going crazy, or maybe it's my wife going crazy, taking care of him out front. But man, I really enjoyed this. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Bye, Amit.
Goodbye.